What if it wasn't a coincidence? What if this person who caught your eye, the one your heart can't forget, had been sent by Allah Himself? No, I'm not talking about a simple crush. I'm talking about that silent, inexplicable connection that makes you ask, is this a sign? There are encounters that are profoundly moving without making a sound, connections that can't be explained, but that awaken your soul. And sometimes, Allah doesn't wait for you to understand. He wants you to feel. In this video, we'll dive deep into those rare, almost sacred moments when Allah wisely unites two hearts. Not easily, but peacefully. And above all, we'll discover what really happens when it's the right person. Prepare yourself. What you're about to hear may well confirm what your heart has long felt. 1. When your soul recognizes what your heart doesn't yet understand. There are moments that don't need noise, no need for words. Moments when everything stops without anything really stopping. You pass someone. There are no fireworks, no uncontrollable heartbeat, just silence. But a silence that soothes. You can't explain it. It's not logical. It's not calculated. But your soul has understood something even before your thoughts follow. It whispers, this is it. This is the beginning of something written with this person. And this sensation doesn't come from desire. It comes from further away, higher up. You see, Allah doesn't always speak to you through spectacular things. He can answer you with a sudden calm, with a peace you've never felt in anyone else's arms. A peace that doesn't seek to impress you, but to remind you that what comes from Him doesn't disturb your heart. It stabilizes it. And that's where many go wrong. They wait for a flame, an excitement, a rush. But Allah doesn't seek to distract you. He seeks to align you, to unite you not with a person, but with a destiny. Sometimes your soul recognizes a soul before you yourself are ready to accept it. And it's disconcerting, because everything within you is trying to understand. Why her? Why now? Why this feeling I've never had, even with others? And the answer isn't always logical. It's a certainty without proof, an obviousness that doesn't shout, but it persists. You don't feel this way because you're in love. You feel this way because something in her awakens your fitrah, because in her presence you return to your center. You no longer need to run away, to prove yourself, to play a role. You are simply you before Allah. And if this serenity exists, if it doesn't fade despite doubts or storms, then perhaps it's not just a person you've met, but a living reminder, a mercy in disguise, a path that Allah discreetly offers you. But you must be attentive, for the signs of Allah don't shout. They settle gently, and if your heart is too noisy, too impatient, too wounded, you risk missing a moment your soul has always been waiting for. And sometimes you pray for something for years, and when Allah finally leads you there, you don't recognize the answer because it's too calm, too peaceful, not spectacular enough for the ego, but perfectly designed for the soul. So ask yourself, this calm I feel, this feeling I can't explain, what if it wasn't a coincidence? What if it was the subtle trace of a decree beginning to be fulfilled? 2. Narrative, the story we never told. There are stories we never tell because they don't make a sound. No love at first sight, no ideal scenarios, no background music, just silences, prayers, scars we keep in our hearts and show to no one. His name was Yusuf. He wasn't a movie hero, just a brother like so many others. He prayed at night, alone in his small room, kneeling on a cold floor, murmuring invocations that no one heard, except He who knows the weight of tears. He had loved badly, He had given too much, and he had been left empty. Every time he thought it was the right one, Allah showed him it wasn't the right time, or worse yet, not the right goal. Until the day he changed his prayer. He no longer said, "Send me someone." He said, "O Allah, send me a soul who will remind me of you even when I wander away. Someone who will not belong to me, but who will walk with me towards you." And that day, something began to change, not on the outside, inside him. He no longer sought to fulfill, he sought to elevate, and she arrived. Not like in idealized stories, not with perfect gestures or cliched phrases. She was simple, authentic. She didn't shine like a star. She warmed like a light hidden in the night. When she spoke, he didn't just listen to her words. He listened to her intention. When she prayed, he didn't see a pious woman. He saw a servant of Allah who was sincerely seeking him without pretense. And above all, when he doubted, she didn't force him to understand. She invited him to trust, not in her, but in Allah. That's when he understood. This wasn't a love story. It was a story of connection, a bridge between two souls, built by Allah, so that they might move forward not toward each other, but together toward Him. And this kind of story, we never tell it, because it's not spectacular. It doesn't inspire dreams, but it heals, it purifies, it reminds us. There was no perfect declaration. There was no promise of always. There were silences filled with dhikr, shared gazes toward the same horizon, hands that do not seek each other in haste but in patience, hearts that do not cling to each other, but cling to Allah so as not to lose each other along the way. And this is what is not said enough. When Allah unites two people, it is not so that they consummate each other. It is so that they complement each other in worship. It is not to fill a void, but to build a path. And you, who are listening, perhaps you are experiencing exactly this transition. Perhaps you will finally stop asking for someone and start looking for a soul who will bring you back to Allah when you forget who you are. 3. Emotional. When fear becomes a silent prayer, there are silences that no one hears, except Allah. Tremblings that we hide behind smiles. "I'm fine," thrown too quickly. Glares that escape when someone talks to you about love or marriage because your heart is already fighting another battle. You feel that something is changing. You feel that this encounter is not ordinary. But instead of rejoicing, you're afraid. Not afraid of the other person. Not afraid that they will hurt you, but afraid of yourself. Afraid of not knowing how to accept a gift from Allah. Afraid of not being ready, even though you've prayed so hard. Afraid that this person is the answer, and you, a heart too fragile to care for it. And you know what? It's normal. Because real things never come without weight. And what you feel now, this fear that tightens your chest every time you think of him, of her, is not a sign of weakness. It's perhaps your purest sincerity. There is a fear that is not an escape, but a form of faith. The fear of not wanting to betray a blessing. The fear of not wanting to fail where so many others fall. In blind attachment, in love without responsibility, in union without the intention of walking towards Allah. You don't just want to love, you want to protect. You don't want to possess. You want to honor. You don't just want to be chosen. You want to be ready to be a cause of stability in someone's life. And it is this fear that Allah looks at. Not your past, not your flaws, but this trembling heart that moves forward despite everything. Because what you feel today, this inner shudder, this gentle panic, is not insecurity. It may be your prayer transforming into action. And if this person has been placed in your path, it is not to torment you. Perhaps it is a test, perhaps a deposit, perhaps a reminder. Allah does not send you the right person to beautify the moment. He sends them to invite you to grow, to become the person you must be, to embrace this connection with full awareness. And sometimes, the best proof of love isn't an I love you, it's a Ya Allah, I don't want to ruin everything. So don't run away from your fear. Take it in your hands, raise it up in your supplications. Say to Allah, I'm not perfect, but I want to do things right. And believe me, that's often all He expects. Because it's not in perfection that blessed unions are born. It's in trembling hearts that want to improve, in sincere souls that want to build even with their cracks. And this fear you feel, no longer see it as an obstacle. See it as a sacred place, a place where Allah invites you to straighten up before entrusting you with what you have so asked of Him. 4. Imagery. The sky and the sea never touch, but Allah unites them on the horizon. Look at the sky. It's always changing. Clear blue in the morning, tinged with gold at dusk, sometimes darkened by storms. And look at the sea. It dances in the light, roars in the night, calms down without warning. They are never the same, never in the same rhythm, never in the same mood. And yet, they are inseparable. Perhaps you too have met him, this person who is unlike you, who thinks differently, who reacts differently, who experiences love in his own way. And you wonder, can this really work? But Allah doesn't create copies. He unites contrasts. He creates beauty in balance, not in symmetry. The sky and the sea never mix. But on the horizon, they meet. A thin line, almost unreal. A thread of light woven by the hand of the Creator, where infinity meets the abyss, where the invisible becomes visible. Perhaps this is the true bond, not the one that erases differences, but the one that embraces them with peace. Not a fusion, but a resonance. Not an obsession, but a direction. When Allah wants to unite two souls, He does not seek for them to lose themselves in each other. He wants them to recognize each other, without destroying each other, for them to rise, without merging. It can be earthy, anchored, stable. He can be windy, unpredictable, passionate. But together, they grow a forest that no one understands, except the one who planted the seed. And you know, it's not always easy. Sometimes you look at that person and say to yourself, we don't understand each other enough. We're not moving forward in the same way. We don't have the same story. But the horizon reminds you, unity doesn't mean uniformity. Union doesn't mean nullification. The right one for you may not be like you, but he completes you. He gently confronts you with your shortcomings. He pushes you to grow where you were comfortable in your stagnation. He shows you Allah through another perspective, not your own, but the one he or she helps you discover. And if you still doubt, look at the horizon. You can't touch it. You can't reach it. But you know it's real. Like that strange peace that arises when you're together. Like that sweet, fragile, yet persistent certainty. Maybe it's him. Maybe it's her. And even if the world around you doesn't understand, even if your differences seem too obvious, Allah sees the invisible bond. He doesn't unite hearts according to the laws of the world. He unites them on the horizon, where the visible touches the invisible. 5. Question and answer. What if I'm not sure? What if I'm not sure this is the right person? What if doubt weren't an enemy, but an invitation to return to the source? You're looking for a sign, something strong, obvious, spectacular. But that's not always how Allah responds. Sometimes, what we call the absence of a sign is actually proof of a choice, yours. But if it's written, why don't I feel anything extraordinary? Because guidance isn't born in turmoil. It's in alignment. It's not always butterflies in the stomach, but a strange calm that needs no justification. Do you want absolute clarity? But Allah sometimes teaches you to move forward, even in the dark. Are you looking for a flash of lightning from the sky? What if the true sign was this heart that gently settles, instead of beating until it breaks? How do I know if Allah wants this person for me? Ask yourself, do I find Him more in their presence? Are my prayers becoming more real, more fulfilling? Do I feel a sense of inner order, even if everything around me remains uncertain? The right person doesn't come to solve all your problems, but they help you stop running away. They help you look at yourself without fear. They help you speak to Allah with words you never dared to utter. It's not always a grand speech. Sometimes it's a shared silence where we feel something happening above both of us. What if I'm afraid of making a mistake? So submit that fear, not to logic, not to emotions. Submit it to the one who knows the lines of your destiny before you even know how to walk. Say, "O Allah, if it is good for my faith, bring it closer. And if it is only an illusion, then distance me, gently." And then look. Does he or she lift you up, even in the shadows? Do you feel that your mistakes are no longer tolerated, but called upon to be repaired? What if I lose it? You lose nothing that Allah has not planned to give you back in another way. But if it's truly for you, no distance, no mistake, no delay will be able to break what He has forged. So, should I wait? No. You must not wait. You must move forward, towards Allah. Not towards the person. Run towards Him. And look, who walks beside you, even when you don't call out to them? Who stays, even when you no longer ask? Who prays, even when you are broken? That's when you will know, not by outward signs, but by that inner certainty, that this time you are no longer alone, and that if this person is still there, it's not because you seduced them. It's because Allah has anchored them. 6. Poetic. When roots intertwine in the silence of the earth, you will never see the precise moment when it is woven. There are no fireworks or trembling of the ground, only a sacred slowness, which the world ignores, but which the soul feels. Under the earth, sheltered from the noise of men, two roots approach each other, almost timidly. They do not hurry, they do not rush, they grow, faithful to the rain, through trust in the light, even when it is absent. When Allah decides to unite two souls, He does not throw them against each other in a blinding glare. He lets them grow, at first separately, like two trees that rise in distant lands, but which destiny brings back side by side. You do not understand how. You don't understand why. But suddenly, your heart encounters a heart that doesn't seek to consume you, but to understand you. It's there, in this profound slowness, in this absence of agitation, that you recognize a bond that no words can contain. A bond that doesn't cry out to you, "Be mine," but that whispers, "Let's walk together towards him." The roots don't intertwine to hold each other back, but to better withstand the storms. They don't tangle out of fear, but out of confidence. The trust of carrying more together. And you, perhaps you're living this invisible phase, perhaps you don't see anything yet. But beneath the surface of your prayers, something is growing. Someone is growing. And perhaps this bond you think you don't feel yet is already growing in silence, in simple choices, in looks that don't seek to seduce, but to reassure. When Allah makes something true grow, He doesn't give it to you ready-made. He teaches you to wait. He teaches you to watch. He teaches you to be patient, like the earth. Because what He unites is not based on attraction, but on endurance. Not on thrills, but on foundation. You may want this person to look at you with passion, but Allah wants you to be looked at with respect, with modesty, with that silent tenderness found in the gardens He Himself cultivated. And when that day comes, when the two souls finally recognize each other, they don't rush. They bow. They give thanks. They unite, not to become a single entity, but to form a refuge for two. A shelter under which faith can breathe and the heart can rest. For it is not fusion that the soul seeks. It is peace. And Allah knows exactly with whom this peace will be complete. If you felt something through these words, it may not be simply an emotion. It may be a response. Allah does not create connections by mistake, but He tests. He waits. He observes. He watches what you do when He sends you someone exceptional. Do you protect? Do you recognize the gift? Or are you doubting, to the point of losing it? Don't let your past hurt sabotage what Allah has in store for you. And if this person is the one He has chosen for you, then don't let them go. Tell me in the comments if your heart thinks it has recognized this connection. Share this video with someone who may have received a sign without knowing it. And most importantly, subscribe if you want more reminders like this one. Grounded, sincere, and connected to your heart and your faith. Your soul will always recognize what has been written for it, but you still have to be awake enough not to miss it.